You've been told this lie since the moment you were old enough to follow instructions. Work hard, keep your head down, obey the rules, and eventually, you'll be rewarded. They told you to grind, to suffer. That sweat was noble. That exhaustion meant you were doing it right. But what if I told you that was never meant to help you rise? It was designed to keep you in place. The truth is simple, brutal, and rarely spoken. Hard work doesn't lead to power. It leads to obedience. And in a world that rewards control over effort, obedience is the real prison. Look around. Who runs the world? Is it the man swinging the hammer 10 hours a day? Is it the woman pulling double shifts with no time to rest? Number. The people in power are not the hardest workers. They are the sharpest movers, the coldest minds, the quiet rulers who built systems so they don't have to grind. The man in the office is not the king. The man who owns the office building is. You were never taught this because power doesn't need you to be powerful. It needs you productive, useful, predictable, replaceable. They told you that if you just hustle long enough, you'd rise. But the game was never about hustle. It was, and always will be, about leverage. And you were trained to have none. Let's break this down. Why is hard work so glorified? Because it's visible. Because it looks noble. Because it feels right to suffer for something. But that's the trap. Because when your value is based on how tired you are, you become addicted to your own exhaustion. You confuse movement with progress. You wear your suffering like a badge of honor. And forget to ask who benefits. It's not you. It's the system, the manager, the owner, the shareholders, the quiet rulers. The harder you work, the more powerful they become. Niccolo Machiavelli, one of the most misunderstood minds in history, never romanticized labor. He studied power, and what he found was simple. Men do not rise by toil. They rise by timing, force, and favor. He saw that those who held influence weren't breaking their backs. They were pulling strings. They weren't visible. They were untouchable. You think effort will save you. But effort, when unstrategic, becomes slavery with applause. You are praised for your reliability. You are celebrated for your compliance. You are respected just enough to keep producing, but never enough to be free. Because the system fears the man who asks questions, the one who steps back instead of forward, the one who says, "No, I will not bleed just to be seen." Ask yourself, have you ever seen the richest men sweating? Do they show off their hours, their effort, their grind? Number. They hide their moves. They build networks, not calluses. They use silence as a weapon. And they win without ever showing up to the battlefield. The truth is, the man who works the hardest rarely builds the empire. He builds it for someone else. He lays the bricks, but he never gets the blueprint. You see, this system is rigged, but elegantly. It makes you feel proud of being tired. It teaches you to be a good worker, a silent warrior, someone who dies with dignity, but never wins. A lion isn't king because he hunts all day. He's king because he chooses when not to hunt. He knows presence is more powerful than pressure. He knows restraint is more terrifying than effort. The fox wins while the mule breaks his back. So now I ask you, what game are you playing? Are you still proud of being busy? Are you still chasing the illusion of glory through grind? Or are you ready, truly ready, to detach from the lie, to observe instead of obey, to strike once, not swing blindly forever? Are you ready to vanish from the herd and reappear as a force they can't predict? Because the next level of life isn't for the loud, it's for the lethal, for the man who disappears from the system and comes back to own it. Hard work is not the enemy. Dependency on it is. You are not here to be remembered as a good laborer. You are here to build a life of control, of precision, of freedom. So make the decision now, not to work harder, but to rise smarter, to be unseen until it's time to strike. And when you do, let it only take once. Part 2 will show you the hidden architecture of the grind system, how it was designed to keep you poor, proud, and obedient, and more importantly, how to escape it forever. Now that you've begun to see the illusion of hard work equals power, it's time to look deeper, to expose the machinery behind the illusion. Because this isn't just about effort. This is about how your effort is weaponized against you, how the system was never broken. It was built this way, to reward obedience, to punish independence, to take your labor and convert it into power for someone else. And if you don't learn to see this, you'll work yourself into exhaustion, while someone else quietly cashes your ambition. Let's break it down, step by step. First, the education trap. You were trained from childhood to obey bells, schedules, deadlines, taught to sit still, memorize, regurgitate. You were not taught how to think. You were taught how to comply. Why? Because the system isn't designed to create sovereign minds. It's designed to create predictable producers. You were told, get good grades, get into college, get a respectable job, and everything will work out. But what they didn't tell you is that by the time you arrive at that job, you've already accepted your position as a servant in someone else's system. The system needs workers, not thinkers, not rebels, not men who build their own rules. And so, it creates a game. Grind culture. The illusion of dignity through exhaustion. Work 60 hours a week, celebrate burnout, show everyone how busy you are. Maybe you'll get a raise, maybe you'll get Employee of the Month, a pat on the head, all while your time, your attention, your creativity are being drained and handed to those who never enter the factory floor. They feed you quotes like, hard work beats talent, or sleep is for the weak. Why? Because a man too tired to think is a man too tired to resist. Here's the brutal truth. The system doesn't care about your effort. It only cares about what it can extract from it. If you die early from stress, they'll replace you. If you stay loyal for 20 years, they'll give you a watch and send you home broke. And you'll sit there wondering, what did I do wrong? I worked so hard. But that's the trick. You were never meant to win through work. You were meant to be distracted by it. So you wouldn't look up. So you wouldn't notice the men above you, the ones designing the machine while you're stuck fueling it. Here's how the machine works. You're taught obedience as virtue. You're praised for effort, not outcome. You're conditioned to equate self-worth with productivity. And most importantly, you're taught to fear questioning the game. Because if enough people start asking, who's actually benefiting from my exhaustion, the whole thing breaks. And so, they give you just enough comfort, just enough pride, just enough applause to keep you grinding. Think about this. Who told you to never give up? Who told you that quitting was failure, that quiet quitting was wrong? Was it someone free? Or was it someone inside the machine trying to justify their own chains? Because here's the truth they won't say. Sometimes quitting is wisdom. Sometimes silence is power. Sometimes stepping back is the first move toward freedom. The worker is taught to push harder. The ruler is taught to push smarter. And that's the difference. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, that a population trained to toil would never threaten the throne. That you didn't need chains to enslave a man. You only needed to convince him that his suffering made him noble. And once he believed that, you could take everything, his time, his energy, his youth, and he'd thank you for it. He'd say, "At least I worked hard." That is the face of modern slavery. A slavery wrapped in pride, fueled by dreams that were never yours to begin with. But you're here because something in you is breaking free. You've felt the burn of working endlessly for little return. You've questioned the applause that came without freedom. You've sensed that the game was rigged. You just didn't have the language for it. Now you do. You're not lazy for wanting out. You're not ungrateful for demanding more. You are awakening, and awakenings are violent to the world that profits from your sleep. So here's the challenge. Stop asking how to grind more. Start asking how to break the system's hold on you. Stop worshiping labor. Start studying leverage. Stop proving your worth to people who would replace you in a second. Start becoming someone they can't replace. Someone who watches. Someone who waits. Someone who strikes once and never needs to again. Because the future does not belong to the proud laborer. It belongs to the silent architect, the one who disappears from the game, only to come back and own the board. We need to talk about the mask. The mask they put on your face and call it grind culture. They dress it up with quotes, with hustle memes, with stories of self-made men. But what they're really selling is modern-day obedience. This is not motivation. It's manipulation. Because when they teach you to be proud of your exhaustion, they win and you lose. This is the part of the system that doesn't just use your labor. It makes you worship your labor. So you defend it. You cling to it. And even when it's destroying you, you'll still say, "At least I'm working hard." That is how control is perfected. Let's be honest. When did exhaustion become honorable? When did sleep deprivation become a trophy? When did rest become something to be ashamed of? You've been tricked. Taught that if you're not suffering, you're not succeeding. That if you're not constantly posting progress, you're falling behind. That visibility equals value. That motion equals meaning. But here's the Machiavellian truth. Visibility makes you predictable. Predictability makes you controllable. And a man who is always exhausted is no threat to the system that drains him. Grind culture is not about freedom. It's about keeping you too busy to think, too busy to rebel, too proud of your pain to notice you've become a cog in a wheel that was spinning before you were born, a wheel designed to keep you moving in circles, with no ownership, no leverage, no power. You were told the dream. Wake up early, crush the day, dominate the schedule, work while they sleep, sleep when you're dead. And if you just do it long enough, the kingdom will be yours. But that's not how kingdoms are won. They're built through systems, through control, through strategy. The man who works himself to death is not the king. He is the fuel. Here's the pattern. Grind until you burn out. Burn out and feel ashamed. Hide your exhaustion. Start again. This is a loop. It's a trap. You mistake movement for meaning. You confuse fatigue with value. You believe that if you just suffer more, success will come. But what if your effort is making someone else rich? What if your grind is building someone else's empire? What if you're running in place, on a treadmill they installed, while they sit upstairs, sipping wine, watching the profits roll in? Here's how they hook you. They give you just enough progress, just enough recognition, just enough motivation to keep the addiction alive. Because that's what it is now. Addiction, not to growth, but to being seen growing. You don't work in silence anymore. You work so people know you're working. Every task must be documented. Every moment must be shared. You are no longer a person. You are a performance. And that performance is what the system wants. Because the man performing has no time to plan, no time to rebel, no time to step back and ask, who does this really serve? Grind culture makes you an actor in someone else's play. You wear the costume, you speak the lines, you die for applause, but you never direct the script. Why? Because you were taught to fear rest, to hate stillness, to run from silence. But silence is where power begins. Stillness is where strategy lives. The lion doesn't roar all day, he roars once, and the jungle remembers. You don't need to be everywhere, every moment. You need to be where it matters, when it matters, once. So what do you do instead? How do you escape the illusion? You begin by detaching your identity from exhaustion. You stop making fatigue your brand. You start asking different questions, not, how can I do more? But, how can I do less with greater impact? This is leverage. This is Machiavellian power. You study the board, not the pieces. You control the moves, not the motion. You stop showing up to prove yourself, and you start appearing only when it shifts the entire room. Grind culture is designed to break the thinker, to seduce the builder into becoming a mule, to turn kings into gladiators. So they die for applause instead of building thrones. But you are not here to fight for approval. You are here to dominate through clarity. You're here to disappear from the noise and reappear as the force no one saw coming. Let them chase likes. Let them chase hustle. You chase position. You chase silence. You chase the one strike that changes everything. So the next time someone tells you to just grind, look them in the eye and ask, to what end? Because you are not a machine. You are not a mule. You are not a tool for someone else's agenda. You are a weapon, one that moves with calculation, with elegance, with intention. And that kind of man cannot be used, cannot be drained, cannot be controlled. Most people want to be powerful, but very few are willing to think like the powerful. They imagine power as loud, flashy, dominant. But in truth, power is quiet. It whispers behind the throne. It pulls strings without showing the hand. It's not the knight on the battlefield. It's the architect who drew the map the knight marches on. Today, we leave the role of the exhausted laborer behind and step into the strategist's mind, because the one who moves silently is the one who rules permanently. Think of power like a game of chess. The pawn moves first, fast forward, but it is sacrificed because it's visible, predictable, disposable. The strategist, he doesn't move first. He watches, he listens, and when he moves, it is decisive and often irreversible. Most men are taught to move fast, to prove something, to do and do and do without thinking. But a Machiavellian thinker understands. The first strike is rarely the most powerful. It's the best placed strike that changes everything. Let's talk about leverage. The laborer asks, how much work can I do? The strategist asks, what's the one move that eliminates 10 others? The laborer is focused on time. The strategist is focused on position, on asymmetry, on building structures where less input creates more output. 1 hour of the right positioning can make 100 hours of hustle irrelevant. You can either sweat, or you can design a world where others sweat for you. This is not laziness. This is architect-level thinking. You don't climb the ladder, you build the ladder, and you decide who climbs it. Power is not given, it is assumed, quietly, strategically, without asking permission. You walk into the room, you speak last, you say little, and everyone listens. Why? Because when you master silence, your words gain weight. The man who talks constantly is ignored. The man who waits and speaks with impact, he's remembered. The strategist learns how to withhold. how to delay gratification, how to let fools rush in while he observes patterns. And when he strikes, it looks like luck, but it was engineered. Let's break it down. Here's how to start thinking like a strategist. Detach from motion addiction. Stop equating busyness with progress. Begin measuring outcomes, not hours. Learn to say no without guilt. Power is preserved through selective engagement. Your energy is a finite resource. Use it like a sniper. Master the long game. Think in years, not days. Plant seeds no one sees until the forest blooms all at once. Control the narrative. Stop explaining yourself. Let people wonder. Mystery is power. Disappear when necessary. Invisibility is leverage. The man who is always available is never valuable. You are not a worker anymore. You are not a grinder. You are a strategic force. A presence that rewrites dynamics in every room you enter. People chase power because they want to feel in control. But the truly powerful don't chase at all. They set traps. They create conditions. They make others move first. They don't try to win arguments. They control the frame of the argument. Because once you set the frame, you've already won, no matter what is said. This is high-level thinking, and most men will never reach it, because they're too addicted to being seen hustling. But not you. You are now leaving the visible world and entering the world where the shadows move the light. Power is not about domination. It's about influence without exposure. You shape outcomes without stepping into the fire. You alter reality by shifting perception. The strategist doesn't need applause. He needs position, not recognition, but reach. And this reach is built through controlled silence, ruthless prioritization, emotional detachment, vision 10 steps ahead. This is how kings move, not in noise, but in precision. Now hear this clearly. The world rewards those who build frameworks, not those who live inside them. The strategist is the unseen god behind the system. While others argue over rules, he writes them. While they compete, he owns the game. While they sweat, he watches, calculates, and then moves once. Let them think you're passive. Let them believe you're inactive. While they burn out performing, you are preparing. And when the moment is right, you strike. Not with emotion, not with noise, but with precision that ends the game in one move. You are not just a man. You are not just a worker. You are a strategist, a designer of outcomes, a quiet ruler, a force behind the curtain. So stop announcing your moves. Stop chasing visibility. Start building systems. Start shaping events with intention. Because real power, it doesn't demand attention. It demands results. What if I told you? The most powerful people in the world aren't famous. They aren't loud. They aren't even visible. You won't find them trending. You won't see them hustling on social media. Because true empire builders move in silence. They don't chase clout. They design structures. They don't compete. They own the arenas others fight in. Today, we step deeper into the Machiavellian path. From worker to strategist, now to empire architect. Let's build systems that scale without sacrificing your soul. Here's the truth. If your life stops when you stop working, you don't have a system. You have a trap. The man who builds everything with his own hands will always be limited by those hands. But the man who builds systems can walk away and still make moves, still earn, still influence, still expand. That's the power of leverage. Leverage means getting disproportionate results from minimal input. One move that echoes 1,000 times. There are 4 types of leverage you must master. Code, technology. A single app can replace 1,000 employees. Learn how tools multiply time. Capital, money. Every dollar you deploy strategically works for you, not emotionally, but calculated, cold, with aim. Content, media, a video, a tweet, a blog, each is a digital soldier working 24/7, speaking your message when you sleep. People, delegation, higher skill, buy back your time, empower others to run your machine. The worker tries to do it all. The empire builder asks, how can this run without me? Here's where most men fail. They try to get rich doing everything. They want to control every moving part. But control is not found in micromanagement. It's found in clarity of design. Instead of, how do I make more money? Ask, what structure once built can print income without me? This is how legacies are born. It's not a job. It's not a hustle. It's a machine, with you as the unseen engineer. Let's go deeper. Visibility is a trap. The more visible you are, the more dependent you become on constant validation, constant performance, constant noise. But invisibility, that's sovereignty. The Machiavellian thinker doesn't need to be seen. He needs to control outcomes. Would you rather be the celebrity politician or the shadow figure who funds him, controls him, replaces him? This is power beyond fame, and it's reserved for those who can delay ego gratification for real-world influence. You want freedom? Then you must build your life like an engineer. Audit everything you do. If it can be automated, documented, or delegated, do it. Create repeatable processes. Don't solve problems twice. Solve it once. Turn it into a system and walk away. Remove yourself from operations. Build dashboards. Hire operators. Step into owner mode. Focus only on vision, brand, and positioning. That's your job now. Not answering emails, not micromanaging the team, but steering the empire's direction. Because a real empire, it doesn't need your hands. It needs your mind. You were taught that hard work is noble, that exhaustion is a badge of honor, but you've now outgrown that. You are no longer the mule. You are the architect. Let others post about their 5 a.m. hustle. You'll be sipping coffee at noon while your system closes deals for you. Let them mock you for being silent. But you'll smile because your silence is profitable. And while they work for money, your machine prints it. This is the new game. Leverage, not labor. Silence, not shouting. Control, not chaos. Listen carefully. You don't need to be loud to be lethal. You don't need to be seen to win. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Your future will not be built in sweat, but in systems, leverage, and strategic absence. You are becoming the invisible king, the shadow behind the throne, the man who walks into rooms silently and owns them without speaking. So build the system, step back, and let it move for you. Because this is how true empires rise. Next, in our final transformation, you will learn how to sustain this power, how to live day to day as a king in a world full of noise, not just building empires, but protecting them, refining them, and transcending the chaos forever. You've made it this far. You've burned the script they gave you. You've rejected the slavery of hard labor. You've risen above the noise, the hustle, the grind. Now comes the final transformation, not just to win, but to stay untouchable. Because building power is one thing. Sustaining it, that's a whole different game. This is where 99% of men fall. They rise, they taste control, then they slip, they get soft. Comfort seduces them, discipline escapes them, and the world pulls them back into mediocrity. But not you, not anymore. Understand this. Power decays when left unattended. An empire that isn't refined is rotting. A king who stops sharpening his mind dies long before his crown is taken. The Machiavellian elite never go soft. Why? Because the world doesn't stop scheming. Enemies don't stop watching. Chaos doesn't stop coming. So your daily discipline must be sharper than ever. You don't maintain power by relaxing. You maintain it by crafting a life of silent, focused, daily control. Let's design your daily reality. You don't need a million habits. You need a core system that reinforces your rule. Wake with strategy, not reaction. No phone, no news, just silence, planning, mental warfare. Ask, what power move can I make today that multiplies tomorrow? Physical discipline as a weapon, not for aesthetics, for command, for endurance, for war. Your body must never be a weakness. Information control. Read what others ignore. Learn what gives you edge. Consume power books, not dopamine garbage. Silence and solitude blocks. 60 minutes daily. No distraction. Think, strategize, journal, observe. This is where unseen moves are born. Asset creation time. Build something every day that pays tomorrow. A system, a product, a campaign. Be the architect, always building. An untouchable man doesn't just build walls around his empire. He builds them inside his mind. The world will tempt you. With drama, with fake urgency, with emotional chaos, with soft pleasures. Your job is to remain unmoved. When others panic, you stay poised. When others chase, you choose. When others beg for attention, you disappear and return with results. Your emotions are tools, not masters. Your time is sacred, not disposable. Your presence is rare, not desperate. You are a weaponized monk, detached but dangerous. Every empire goes through seasons, expansion, defense, innovation, renewal. Your discipline must follow that cycle. Expansion. Add systems, scale power, build new leverage. Focus on growth moves. Defense, audit threats, remove risks, tighten security, from systems to people to mindset. Innovation. Don't get stagnant. Find new edges, outmaneuver, reinvent. Renewal. Rest with intention, reflect, recharge, but never decay. By mastering this cycle, you don't just survive, you evolve, silently, strategically, endlessly. This is the hardest part, but the most necessary. You must kill the boy inside, the one who needs approval, the one who reacts to every insult, the one who wants to be liked, and in his place forge the sovereign, the one who decides when to speak, who to trust, where to strike. He doesn't rush. He doesn't explain. He watches, plans, moves. You can still feel, but your feelings are private. Your power is public. You've escaped the trap, the grind culture, the slave system. You've transcended hustle and stepped into control. You've mastered the 4 Machiavellian pillars. Perception, understanding how the world sees and how to manipulate that lens. Power, recognizing where true control lies and seizing it. Strategy, building systems and leverage, not just reacting. Discipline, sustaining dominance through daily execution. You are no longer a worker. You are no longer a pawn. You are the architect, the silent strategist, the man who builds kingdoms while the world argues online. Your new life begins now, not louder, but smarter, not more seen, but more sovereign, not more hustle, but more command. Go build quietly, move deliberately, think dangerously. Let them underestimate you, let them doubt you, because when your machine moves, when your system prints, when your discipline speaks, they will realize you were never lazy, you were strategic. You didn't quit the game, you mastered it. Now go, let the empire rise, the empire